Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Renee Whaley is a financial coach and a Ramsey Solutions financial master coach who specializes in sharing the message that budgeting and debt management are the keys to a life of financial freedom. She is the first person in her immediate family to attend college and is also the author of the book, A Journey to Financial Fortitude. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to extend a warm welcome to Miss Renee Whaley. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, the pleasure is definitely all mine. I'm really looking forward to it. I think I've been trying to get with you for a while now,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sometimes it's hard to coordinate these schedules, but I think this will definitely be worth it. So tell the audience a little bit about who you are.
Um, you kind of said a little bit of it, just kind of grew up low income area of Columbia, South Carolina. Um, my parents, struggled to make ends meet. And I always subconsciously thought I didn't want to do that. I didn't want that struggle. So I kind of just went on this journey of wanting to, be financially free. And so I was able to master it for the most part, up until I graduated from college and got married and inherited student loan debt and all that good stuff, with my husband's student loans. And um, so I just became laser focused after attending a Financial Peace University session, I think back in 2009
Mm-hmm.
ish. Um, and just put the put the um put the pedal to the metal and just went hard. and and
Wow.
got me to where I am today.
Okay, so you said that the magical words, Financial Peace University, which I think a lot of people that I know have kind of started their journey through Financial Peace University, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that a little
Okay.
later on. But if you could just tell me a little bit, dive a little more deeply into your financial upbringing, because a lot of time I have found out that people are the way they are, whether it's good or bad, because of the way they were raised with money. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I believe in that wholeheartedly. I believe that in every relationship there is a spender and there's a saver, right? I would say my mom was the saver and my dad was the spender. He always wanted to look nice, have nice clothes, go out, have a good time. And my mom was more of a homebody. So she saved a lot. She was very frugal. She still is to this day. Just very frugal. Um, we were never the kids that had the latest and greatest outfits or clothes or new shoes, the name brand stuff. That was never anything we really affiliated with. Now, my parents did divorce when I was quite young. Maybe I was 6 or 7 years old when they divorced. And when my dad would give us money, that was when we would maybe get some of the name brand stuff, right? Because he would say, "Go get y'all some sneakers. I know your mama not gonna, she gonna get y'all those coolers." So he would like give us money and tell us like, "You can go get yourself something nice." But I saw her spend a lot of nights just sitting at the kitchen table, just with papers, like just spread across the table. And sometimes I could catch a glimpse of her with her hand in her head, and as an adult now I know, she was trying to figure it out. How are we going to get from one meal to the next? How are we going to get from one day to the next? The one thing that I admired about my mom is I have no stories of living without electricity. I have no stories of living without, having sufficient clothing. Um, we never were without a phone in our house. So she figured out a way to make sure that we were sustainable and that we had everything that we needed. And I think that I picked those characteristics up from her. You know, I think I can be frugal sometimes, but I get what I want to now because I'm able to. But it wasn't a hard thing for me to be frugal because I experienced seeing her be that way most of her life, with us. So she neither of my parents graduated high school. So they didn't have these big banging careers. My mom would clean homes for you know, white women or white families. She would clean schools at night with some of my other aunts. And my dad, he was he did like kind of like landscaping type things, excuse me. And he also, I can remember him being a sanitation worker, you know.
Mm.
So they never had like these really um great jobs, to aspire to. But like I said, my mom was very frugal. She made it work. And I saw that, in her. And so I think I somehow assimilated to those values that she had, more so than my dad's values.
Gotcha. Well, so I can totally understand. I think it sounds like your dad was a blue collar guy, and
Mhm.
just like a lot of us, he spent it as fast as it came in, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and your mom saw another way. She understood that, the little bit that she has, she needs to be able to make it stretch and manage it, So
Mhm.
I think we all have those stories.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us about the defining moment when you went to high school and college? What allowed you to see that I need to do something different?
Um, I think it was a pivotal moment probably for me was just like when I finally went off to college. I stayed on campus when I finally, I could literally walk to my college from my house, but I made a decision to stay on campus. And that was because I had the money to do it, and I had the money to do it because of scholarships, right? So I was an avid scholarship seeker. So if there was a scholarship for it, I was there, I was on it, I was applying for it. So I think going through that process, winning those scholarships and being able to see um, that there was more to life than just, what I had been exposed to earlier on, as it related to money, because scholarship showed me that money is out there. You just got to figure out how to go and get it. Right. So I think for me, winning, like every semester I win like 5 scholarships. They were never like today these kids get full rides or they get a $40,000 scholarship, 20,000. There were never scholarships of that amount, maybe 500 here, 1,000 there. Like the higher ones were maybe $2,000, what have you. But at the end of the day, it was enough to cover the expenses for college. So I think for me, that was like the pivotal moment when I saw that I can do this thing, right? And I can do it and not graduate trying to figure out how I was going to pay it all back, right? Because I knew my parents couldn't pay for it.
Mhm.
So I think for me, that was like the turning point for me.
Wow, that's incredible. So you're telling me that you went on camp, you stayed on campus, but you were in state,
Mhm.
and so that definitely saved on tuition.
Mhm.
But you were able to grind things out. You were able to graduate from college with no student loan debt.
No student loan debt.
That's unreal. That's unheard of in this day and time. I know that was, a little earlier, but even when you did it, I think you graduated in 96 or 90, 98, something like that.
Yeah, I graduated from college in 98.
Yeah, so even in 98, the cost of college was very expensive. It's not what it is now, but it wasn't like it was in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
So to do that is incredible. Did you also work a job as well in addition to getting those scholarships?
Yes, yes, I did work, but because of the scholarships, the funds that I worked for, I didn't have to work. I didn't have to work my way through school, if that makes sense.
That
right?
makes sense.
Yeah, because of the scholarships, like every semester I was going to the financial aid office to get my refund check. So essentially I was like getting paid to go to school.
Yeah.
So but I worked, and I worked actually for the federal government. I worked for the United States Secret Service actually for 4 years.
That's pretty
It
cool.
was a job that it was for low income students that were in college. And as long as you stayed in college, you kept the job. That's why I worked there for 4 years.
That's incredible. Like
Yeah.
that is literally unheard of. I know that, you know, you being a Dave Ramsey fan, and I know you're probably very familiar with the work of Anthony O'Neill and his book Debt Free Degree.
Mhm.
You probably could have wrote that book.
Probably.
That's
Probably.
amazing.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
hey, no problem. What did you end up getting your degree in?
My degree was in information management. Today they call it like CIS, I think, computer information systems. But when I graduated, they were just kind of um, starting that program, if you will. And because prior to that, it was just computer science only, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't a computer science major because I didn't have to write code. I didn't have to be on the back end of things. My Most of my classes and my studies were geared towards front end. So um, they were just kind of getting um, acclimated there with that major. And so I started off thinking I was going to be a computer science major until I realized what it entailed. And I was like, no, this thing over here that they're calling information management sounds more my speed. So I ended up going down that route. So I've always worked in IT pretty much.
Yeah, so around the time you ended up getting your degree, that degree sounds like it was had a high value. It's not, you know, I know Dave Ramsey and them, they joke quite often about underwater basket weaving and those kind of degrees, but your degree is one that if you end up getting it, you'll always be in high demand.
Yes. And I mean, there's so many routes you can take, right? In IT. You know, you can go into network administration, you can go into cybersecurity, you can go into data science. It's just a plethora of things. I mean, I just started when I started out of college working as at a help desk. And I kind of just went from there to doing desktop support, went from there to managing a team that did it, and so on and so on. So it's it could take you so many routes. Um, you know, I wasn't as interested in the network side of it, the network administration and, you know, or the architecture and hardware going in the closets and putting all the wires together. I wasn't so interested in that. I knew about it and I was exposed to it and introduced to it along my journey in my career, but it wasn't something that I was that interested in.
I get it. Well, hey, you definitely made the right decision, and you can probably already do mentor quite a few people in allowing them or helping them to meet their goals and aspirations. Am I correct?
I think I can agree.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the stats that I saw on your page, and I thought it was kind of low, but it said that about 76% of households live paycheck to paycheck. And when you speak with people individually, I thought it was actually higher than that, but maybe it's just 76%, which is still very high. It's like three-fourths. Why
Mhm.
don't you speak on that? Something like how do we allow ourselves to get caught up in a rat race? Is it just trying to keep up with the Joneses, or is it something a little deeper?
I think it starts with upbringing, right? How you were raised. You know, if your parents, um, you said I want and they got every time you said you wanted, you know, even though I think my upbringing financially was a pretty was challenging, I can look back and appreciate, right, that every time I asked for something I couldn't get it. Or um I can appreciate the value of a dollar, right? Because if I wanted those name brand shoes, if dad wasn't around, then I had to figure out how do I work to get those. shoes or what have you. So I think that's kind of where it starts, is in your upbringing. And then on top of that, society feeds you all of it, right? I mean, you just think basic stuff, commercials, you know, they know to put a celebrity on the screen. And if there's celebrity there with it, then, oh yeah, I got to have that too. Um, I think they, when I say they, society also makes us feel like it's necessary to have a student loan. It's necessary to have a car payment. You know, they make it these things necessary. And I can remember talking to a friend of mine. I mean, and I was like in my 20s, and I was telling her, I was just tired of car payments. And she said, well, if you want a nice car, you're going to always have a car payment.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, you know, just hearing her say that, like, where did she get that from, right? Who taught her that? So, you know, but I, of course, I went out and I did the opposite, you know. I was
Wow.
like, I'm not gonna have car payments. And so that's where I think it starts. And, you know, and I think too, you know, like my parents had so little, like I'm the first in my family to even own a car, right? Yeah, my parents today still don't drive. They still don't have cars. They went so long without them that now they're used to just not having.
That seems so unbelievable. Like
I know.
growing up, how did they pull that off?
So like we've always stayed we've always lived in areas where we were only, you know, a few miles from the grocery store, from wherever we needed to go or whatever we needed to do. So my mom, she had the little, you know, the folded buggy kind of thing
Mm.
that people use. She would use it like a utility cart or basket kind of thing that she would use. She would use it to walk to the laundromat to wash her clothes. So she put her clothes in there. She would use it to go to the grocery store, put her groceries in her bag, and, you know, come back home. Of course, there were some times when either she didn't feel like walking as far, or she did want to go somewhere further than just a few miles. And so for things like that, she would reach out to family, friends, ask for a ride. You had the cabbies at the grocery stores that, you know, you get there, they'll get you back home. I mean, you might have to give them, you know, a couple of dollars or whatever. Um, Heavily reliant on the city bus, the city transportation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was in school, and I used to, when I got this job with Secret Service, I would go to class at USC, and then I would leave class and go to work. And at first I didn't have a car. Like, I didn't have a car my freshman year. So I would catch the bus from school to work, then back from work back to school. So but that was the upbringing, right? That's how we did it. That's how it happened in my house. So it wasn't like a shock to my system to do that. So
So that only becomes a shock to your system when you realize how good you have it now, correct?
yes. Yes, a lot of things becomes a shock to my system now that I look back. I remember when my oldest son, he was maybe like 6 or 7, and I was telling him about, you know, growing up, we only had one restroom in the house. And he's like, how did you guys do that? Because I have an older sister, have a younger brother. I'm a middle child. So he was like, how did y'all have just one restroom? And I was like, we just had one. And he's like, so what if you had to use the restroom and auntie was in there or whatever? I just had to wait. So it was like shocking. And so much so that he went to school the next day and told his teacher, my mommy grew up with only one bathroom in the
Wow. How
house.
old was he? How old was he when you
He was
told him that
about
story?
6 or 7.
Oh, yeah, I could see
Yeah,
how, yeah, I could definitely see how he
yeah.
couldn't understand that. So let me just kind of piggyback on what you're saying. I have we have 3 kids and we have 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and we have 3 full baths. So it's 3 toilets and 3 showers. Well, one of the showers recently began acting up. So now we have 2 showers and 3 toilets. In the morning, it is like so much more difficult to get ready than when we had all 3 showers fully operable. I mean, it's like a scramble now, just going from 3 to 2 showers. So I can definitely see why he would be like, "Hey, how'd y'all do it with just one bathroom period?"
Right, right.
So
Yeah, I
kids
mean,
only know what they know. They only know
exactly,
what they know. Yeah, yeah. So
exactly.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Which is why, sometimes I always say, I used to have these classmates and teammates in college. I went to Furman University for my first
Okay.
year in college. Yeah, I know it's probably a few hours
In
from you.
Greenville.
Yep, in Greenville. Yep,
Yep.
about 30 minutes from Clemson,
Mhm.
and had these teammates that would roll up in these $50,000 cars, and I had this little
Wow.
$800 piece of junk. And I'm like, man, what? It's gonna be difficult for them to ever truly upgrade their car. Like they're
Yeah.
always gonna have that high standard.
Hmm.
So I totally get it. I totally get
Yeah.
it. Well, you had a pretty cool story so far. I want to hear about your debt because you didn't have any student loans. So how'd you end up getting $75,000 in debt, and how did you end up climbing out of that hole?
So yeah, like I said, I graduated undergrad debt free because of the scholarships. But then of course after I graduated, I'm like, I deserve a new car. So
Mm,
I went and bought me a new car straight out of college. But I needed one too. It probably didn't have to be that car, but it was a new car. I did not calculate the interest, and the interest was 17%.
ooh.
The car was a $10,000 car, and fresh out of college, I'm thinking this is easy. I can pay this, over time. And like I said, not calculating that 17%, because I'd never, my parents never had a car. So this was my first experience going out car shopping, getting a car. So I just signed the dotted line for that car. And then later, I decided to go back to school and get my MBA. And the company that I worked for, they they had a tuition reimbursement program, but they only reimbursed a certain amount per year, right?
Mm.
So to go back to get my MBA was like 20 grand. And so I was not gonna spend 4 years in school again to get my MBA, just to try to break it up to get the money from the job. So I went in 2 years. So essentially I had to pay half of it. They paid the other half. So that was the other 10. And then got married, and I inherited, the debt that my husband brought in from his um college experience. Um so all of that, the student loan, the car, all that. When we sat down and did the numbers, it was like, oh my God, we're in $75,000 worth of debt. So, because I had to, incur that my student loan debt as well.
Mm.
It wasn't nearly as much as his, but I wanted my household to be debt free. So, I didn't, just pay off all his debt or anything like that. But I just felt like I did play a part in it. So not playing a part in getting the debt, but I wanted to play a part in getting rid of it.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. And that's what you did.
Yes.
Yeah. So would you say that just like your mom and your dad, that you are more of the nerd and he's more of the free spirit?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember when we would have money fights, it was always because he didn't understand why we couldn't just get whatever it was that we wanted because we had the money. And I would always say we don't have the money until the mortgage is paid off.
Mm.
We still got mortgage, so we don't have the money. So,
So hold on. Okay. So now that's gonna lead me into Financial Peace University.
mhm,
So you all had the 75,000 in debt.
mhm.
Is that when you both said, okay, you probably presented FPU to him and then you all went through the program together?
So we did not go through the program together, because my son was just 1 years old. So and the program was at nights or like in the evenings,
Okay.
right? So he stayed home with baby while I went to FPU for these 12 weeks. Um, and I would just come home every night, like busting through the doors with all this information, like, we got to do this and that, and they friends said this and that. And he just like, okay, so I he trusts my judgment, especially when it comes to money. So it wasn't a hard thing, like a lot of people struggle with getting their spouse or their mates on board with this, but it was not really a struggle with Norman. He was like, whatever we got to do, he was like, you got the plan. And I was like, yeah, we're gonna do this. And I had everything written out, typed out. You go through part of his class, you go through creating your budget. Um, and I, put a budget together. I still use it today. And this is back
Really?
in 2009. Yes.
Hold on. When you say you use the budget today, are you saying you use the same template or the same numbers?
The same template.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, not
Okay.
the same numbers. Yeah, we've gotten promotions over the years and have done other things over the years. So yeah, the numbers change, but yeah, the same template, same
So,
template.
okay, so you use the same template, and of course, the income has probably drastically improved, like most people in that time span.
Yeah.
Have you been able to cut out lifestyle creep that a lot of us fall for and just been able to reallocate that extra money towards retirement?
So yes, I have been able to allocate more towards retirement and more towards 529 for the boys. So that's kind of been what we've been able to do with the extra money. Um, the scope creep, um, I don't want to say that we still don't go crazy with our money. Like when you've been doing things for years and years and years, it's hard to just cut it off and just not do it anymore. I'm still careful, I would say, with my money. I do a lot more of what I want
Mm-hmm.
now. We kind of we've kind of gone a little upgrade crazy in the house. Like we got the bathroom redone, we just got
Uh-huh.
the cabinets redone in the kitchen, so we're doing bigger projects now. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's an investment in us, right? And it's an investment in the home. So I'm okay with it. But I don't do like frivolous stuff. Like I don't go out on a big shopping spree. I don't do things like that, or like, I mean, I do aspire to do some things like there's a certain kind of car that I want.
Uh-huh.
Um, so, but I dare not buy it until I've saved up every penny to get it. So
What is
that
that
might be a
car?
while. Well, it's probably not. It's not probably luxury to everybody else, but it's just I want a Cadillac CTS.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. That's a nice whip.
Yeah,
That really is a nice whip. That's a nice one.
yeah, but I
But
just don't want to have to pay make car payments.
that that takes maturity. That takes honestly, I wish like more people could hear that, because if you think about it, in our society, we're in a microwave generation to where people want the Cadillac CTS and they know it's easy to go to the dealership and just make payments. And if you tell them you could afford $200 a month, yeah, they can get you a $200 a month payment for about 50 years.
Right.
So just you with you
Exactly.
paying your own car payment to yourself, you'll be able to get that in no time. But Yeah, I appreciate that, and that's phenomenal, and
Yeah.
it definitely is in line with what Dave Ramsey speaks about. So, what baby step are you in right now?
I'm done.
So you actually are on set. You're on 7.
Yeah,
So you have a paid off mortgage.
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
As he said, he's looking at weird people.
Right.
Who has a paid off mortgage? That's just crazy. Like, seriously, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I paid it off in 2020, right at the height of right during the pandemic, actually. And then in 2021, we had a rental property as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2021, I paid that one off.
So you have a paid off primary and a paid off secondary rental property.
Yep.
Hey, that is generational wealth. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That
Yeah.
you're definitely, a motivation to me. So my house cost $215 when we bought it in 2015, and we're about to get to about under 6 figures. We'll be about
Cool.
900. I'm sorry, $99,500 by the end of this year. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, I'm
That's
trying
awesome.
to pay it off like you. So
Yeah, and really what I mean, because in hindsight, I'm like, oh my God, we paid out the house. When I think, like, when I really, really think about it. Um, but what really, when I go back and I try to figure out what did I do so differently to do this? So there are a couple of things. So we started out with a 30-year.
mm-hmm.
I think about 8 years in, they say when you know better, you do better. So we learned about 8 years in. I learned that I probably was doing financial peace or something when I heard that, like, all you need to do is try to look at doing a 15-year versus just keeping the 30. So we flipped it to a 15 year. And when we did that, the interest rates were so incredibly low that we ended up having to pay only about $40 more per month.
Wow. How
Yeah.
many years did you have left at the time on the 30?
So probably 20, maybe 20-ish,
Okay.
22-ish, something like that.
Gotcha.
So we flipped it to 15, pay probably about $40 more a month on that. But I had been doing the debt snowball, and that's what got us over the line because remember, we had to pay off the car, and then we had to pay off my student loan debt. Then we had to pay off my husband's student loan debt. So this snowball is getting huge.
Yes.
All of that we applied to the mortgage.
So, gotcha. So basically, what most people are taught is that when you pay these particular debts off, instead of reallocating it towards yourself or your house or retirement, this is just extra money that you found in your budget to blow. But you said, no, I'm going to repay myself with this.
Yes.
That's incredible. That
And
is
even Dave Ramsey doesn't really teach to roll your debt snowball into your mortgage. He just says pay your home off early, right? But I'm just built differently, right? I like when I tell you I loathe debt.
Yep.
The idea that I go out and I work every day and I have to, at the end of the month, keep writing people these checks. It does something to me. So like I absolutely loathe that. So I was trying to get rid of the stuff as fast as I could. And so we rolled all of that debt snowball money into our mortgage. And then when the pandemic hit, the boys were at home, so we didn't have to I didn't have to pay aftercare expenses. We weren't sending off lunch money to school. We were saving a ton on gas.
Mhm.
You've lived here in the Atlanta area. You spend a lot of money on gas here.
Yeah, you
So
spend a lot of
suddenly
money
we're
on
not,
gas to sit in traffic.
yes. So suddenly we didn't have this the we didn't have that was no longer an expense. So all of that money that we were saving during the pandemic, I even took that and put it to the mortgage.
That's incredible. So okay, once you paid the mortgage off, what do you do with that snowball now?
So that was where I was saying I put more towards 529
Oh
for
yeah,
the
yeah,
boys.
and the Roth and the 401k for yourself.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
incredible. And does your husband take advantage of his 403b at work?
Yes.
Awesome,
Yes.
awesome,
Yeah.
awesome, awesome.
So we did that. We they have something where they can do more than what the typical is. I don't know what they call it or whatever. So we did that with this group
Sure.
where you could
Wow.
put in more than just the typical amount. So and then I did do, but I think I was doing this before all of that. I had started a life insurance um policy, but it was like a 20-year. And
Mm-hmm.
again, picked it up in FPU
Mm-hmm.
because you do it for 20 years or whatever, but by the time the 20 years are up, then you're self-insured. So you can just
Yeah.
drop the
Straight up
so
term insurance.
yes,
Yeah, that's
yes,
the way. That's the way to go. Wow, you're hitting on all the points. Like this is incredible. This is some
yeah,
good stuff. So I got a question for you.
okay.
Do you, when you budget, are you? It sounds like you're somewhat Davish because you didn't necessarily go through all of the steps in order like he tells you to. And I'm the same. I'm more Davish than anything, which means I use credit cards like to pay off trips and things like that. I was using credit cards for everyday expenses and paying it off, but I found out that we were overspending by hundreds of dollars a month. And this month we went back to envelopes. And as much as I hate envelopes, it really held us accountable. It is the first month in maybe 2 years that we stayed under budget. And I said, we need to do this. Even if it means that I have to get out of the car and walk into the gas station and pay, or if I forget an envelope at home, I need to go back home and get it. It's totally worth it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think I'm a proponent of the envelope system. I push it more towards people or clients that are what do I beginners.
Yeah.
They're just not and beginners all it sounds so elementary, but I'm talking about people who are on that just getting on that journey, right? To just trying to wipe this debt out, or they have their goal in mind. And so I always advocate envelope system to them. And I used it for a very long time. I even bought the little folding thing with the envelopes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Already I was gung ho about it. But I I don't use it as much anymore now. But I just think I have a level of discipline,
Yeah.
right? Where I'm not doing it. Um, I'm not overspending, but like I mean, I had credit cards too. Amex was my favorite because you got points
Yeah.
every time. You got 1 point for each dollar. Um, so I was a huge proponent of that too, and I was always disciplined. I at the end of every month I would pay the entire bill off at the end of every month. But like you said, like I was spending more to get more points,
That's crazy.
right?
we all have done that though. We all have
Yes,
done that. That's
yes,
it's as ridiculous as it sounds. That's that is very interesting. It allows you to stay in your budget by doing that, but now you are more disciplined with your money. And
yeah,
I had a
yeah.
friend
Like
who
we used to. Oh, I'm
go
sorry. Go
ahead. No,
ahead.
no, go ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I used to. So my husband actually does the grocery shopping and cooking and all that good stuff. And he would when we were doing envelope system, he would have to spend the cash that he had in the envelope for groceries. And that was initially a challenge, right?
Uh-huh.
We knew, but but it helps, right? You understand where your money is going. And so we knew that every 2 weeks we were gonna spend about $300 for groceries. I mean, it's a household of 4 of us. So we always knew that. But he would go to the store and do like the big grocery shopping, and that may have run him 150, 175. Because he knew that later we would have to go back and that we couldn't add any more money to the envelope.
Got it.
Like,
Okay.
that's it. Like, once
Yeah.
it's gone, it's gone, so that was interesting to do that. And people always ask me, how did you do envelope for the grocery store?
You got to make it happen.
Yeah. I
Oh
was
my
like,
goodness.
yeah, we went through that phase of when we first started taking our phones and calculating as we go,
Yep.
punching in the numbers.
But after a while, you kind of can add those numbers in your head as
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you know what? I just think the inconvenience in the discipline allows you to really work the plan. So
Yeah.
but I still, if I'm gonna book a trip or something, I'm not using a debit card. That's just me. It's just always easier to use my credit card. And even when I use the credit cards for expenses and things like that, we paid it off every month, but we were dipping into savings. Like if I got an email from Carnival Cruise Line, and I thought it was a great deal. Hey, I'll go buy it with my credit card and pay it off right away. But if I didn't have the credit card, I wouldn't have bought the cruise. So
Right. So
so
you're spending extra. Yeah.
spending
So
extra. Well, hey, you are cooking tonight. I can go on all night. I want you to tell everybody a little bit about Financial Fortitude.
also, Financial Fortitude is my company, and it's kind of twofold. So on the one hand, I help individuals and families come up with customized strategies to get out of debt so they can live a life of debt freedom like me. And the other part of my company is I help scholars to find scholarships so that they can attend college and have a debt-free college experience like me. So helping people with trying to live a life of debt freedom, I realized that most of my clients were in debt because of student loans. So that's when the other part of the business was born. Like, let me help these kids find some money to go to school, because if I'm not a pro at anything else, it's finding money.
Hey, I might have to holler at you about my 16-year-old.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially for college. So essentially I just do the search for them. We just have we have busy lives, parents and scholars too, don't really have the time to sit down and go and try to find all these scholarships or what have you, or they're finding these what I call sweepstakes scholarships. So I spend the time for them, finding scholarships for them, and generating a solid list of scholarships for them to apply for. So it's twofold. I do a little bit of both, but it's all about trying to keep people out of debt.
You really got a heart for this. I can tell.
Oh yeah,
It's evident.
absolutely.
Well, hey, before we wrap this up, can you just tell everybody how they can find you, or if you want to give, a word of wisdom?
Oh, sure. So you can find me. My website is www.financialfortitudellc.com. My Facebook is Financial Fortitude LLC. My Instagram is F Fortitude. I'm also on LinkedIn, Financial Fortitude LLC. You'll see my logo wherever you go. So it's pretty easy to find me. And I also have on my website, you can link over to my book. So I did write a book too about this experience.
Yes, yes, absolutely. You did write the book. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop all of your links into the notes, the
Okay.
description on the YouTube video, and hopefully, you know, you'll have people reach out to you there. So if you get the information to me, I will definitely put it in the description. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I
I'll
have
get it to you.
really, truly enjoyed this experience. I've learned quite a bit myself. And I think one of the best parts about doing my particular channel is that I don't care how many people I speak with, I always learn something new. And I've learned some things today. And I think that your word will resonate with my listeners. So I appreciate you for taking the time out of your evening to sit down and talk to me. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Hey, it's all my pleasure. Hey, you have a good one and we will be in touch soon. Thank you so much.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Uh-huh.